Hey there, everyone. Welcome to So You Want to Tank Spires of Ascension. I'm Mazarok, and today we're going to be going pull by pull what goes on here. There's a few little tricky things that we got to watch out for in Spires, but aside from that, it's a pretty basic route. So, first pull here, very common, grab everything. There's a few things to watch out for here. The Goliath would be the most notable with the kick. Rebellious Fist absolutely needs to get kicked. The Castigators have a Burden of Knowledge kick, which you do want somebody on as well. The Menders are an actual priority here as well. You can't see it, but there's a Forsworn Doctrine that's going on. Unfortunately, my kick is down, and I tried to do the best that I could. Unfortunately, I was dealing with quite a few other things. I could have stunned it, but I did not. But things went very, very well. Another common thing that you will see on this pull on Fortified Weeks is they'll actually lust this first pull, because the first boss on non-tyrannical isn't that bad. Pretty simple there. As we come forward as well, the Mender here does it's a CCable cast, but what you want to do is this Imbue Weapon here. You actually want that to go off and have it purged. So if you have a purge in your party, what'll happen is you purge that Imbue Weapon cast, a little weapon's going to go on the ground, and one of your DPS can pick it up and deal extra auto attack damage. Some people in the groups that I play with, it's always a race to see who gets it first, because the damage is significant. So check for purges and things like that and make your life easier, and more damage occurs. We had a really, really good boomy on this run. This is fully pugged, and things went very, very well. Aside from that, that's how you deal with this. Unfortunately, you can't take the Angel until you drop combat, and the Spitefuls are up, so we actually had to kill those. As a tank, they won't target you, so you can freely DPS them down and really help out there. You take the Angels, you go across the little taxi service. La-ti-ta-ta-ta. On the next pack is a lot more of the same. So you're going to get a Mender, you're going to get a Castigator, you're going to get a Goliath. If you have a Shaman, the Shaman can solo kick the Rebellious Fist from the Goliaths, like a Resto Shaman, sorry. So here we're not skipping Arcoleth, we're just going to use 1 and 2 minute cooldowns here on this pack, and then have them back up for the boss after that. So here I kicked that Rebellious Fist. The Mender cast that Imbue Weapon. I'm not sure if anybody purged it. I wasn't in comms, but pretty simple there. And you just kind of go forward and mow this down. The Mender is, again, the Mender has that cast of the Imbue Weapon and the Forsworn Doctrine, so you really, really want to bust him down as much as possible if you don't have a purge, and that Forsworn Doctrine is a big heal, and that's why you want to kick it. It just makes the packs last much longer than they have to for no reason at all. And that's pretty simple. Just bring them in, go from there, and just kind of mow them down. We're gonna have to figure out something else in 9.2 to make that pack a little bit easier, because here it's easy to bust cooldowns and go over to Incinerator Arcoleth, but the Lieutenant is not going to be there in 9.2. So we will skip ahead to the next boss. So this next boss has shared damage. So Cleave is really, really good here. They'll always die at the same time, so you do not have to worry about like killing them at the same time. All of your damage will be shared. Oh yeah, our healer needed mana here. I told him beforehand, let me know if you need mana. I do on occasion forget to check. So there's a few things you got to worry about here. Kintara does a small little tank it's a minor tank buster. It's an overhead slash right there. You do want to watch out for that. It used to be easier to sidestep, but they made it so it's not as easy to sidestep, so you want to watch out for that. The bird here is one of the bigger issues. He does this attenuated barrage, which he will on occasion kind of like flip sides, so you have to watch out for that. And you want to stay out of the way, because that barrage hurts a lot. After a while, Kintara will jump up in the air, and she will throw charged spears at people. If you're ranged, this isn't too bad. If you're melee, you need to get away, because the bird, Azulis, has very specific points in which they go to. So you don't want to have all of the charged spear puddles just kind of kicking around the same places that you're going to be trying to do DPS, especially if you're trying to tank or, you know, have heavy melee DPS or things like that. Aside from that, it's a pretty simple rinse and repeat fight. There's not too much to worry about. When you get into higher keys, you're going to want defenses for the overhead slashes. But it's really kind of just watch where the bird's positioning and go from there. Really pretty simple rinse and repeat fight. She does the same thing over and over again. Up next, there are a few different ways to pull this next pull. I think I went pretty bold and I pulled everything at once. But the goal here is to line of sight. Yeah, I did pull them all. So you can actually go in this corner over there, or you can use the pillar, or you can use this here. The group here didn't really know about any of the strategies up there, or they would have been hanging out out there. So here I'm just waiting for my death grip. Comes back, bring them in. You want to try and tank their backs against a wall, because what's going to happen is these skirmishers like to disengage away through the hunter ability type of deal. So you want to keep them in place, because what's going to happen is those skirmishers, when you're not in melee range of them, they do a cast called Hurl, which is not aimed at you. Is actually going to be aimed at a lot of DPS players and not you. And as you see here, our healer got chunked by one of those hurls, because I just, unfortunately, some of them are going to get away. I could have done a little bit better of a job tanking them here, but it is what it is. The pack went successful. Our healer got beat up a little bit by Spitefuls there as well, but nothing really to worry about. Now, this next pull coming up, see that hurl? It can get really nasty. So you want to watch those skirmishers. This next pull is the dog's pull. This is one of the most dangerous pulls in the game, depending on what you have. What you have to pull with. As a DK, I'm very lucky. I have Swarming Mist and I have Death and Decay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a Death and Decay down on one side where the dogs killed those angels. Going to hit Swarming Mist. Because if you don't have anything to reveal these dogs, when they come out of stealth, they will absolutely stun you. And here, one of the DPS, I had asked him to... he had told me he was going to grab the Praetor before we had even started on this pull, so I didn't have to worry about it. But the dogs also put a pretty vicious bleed on you. Now, this Boomy was fantastic for me. He had trees down at all the right times, and I was able to clear stacks with little to no kiting at all. But do not underestimate this dog pack. They can really decimate you. This is one that you might want to kite off or have something prepared for your bleeds. If you have a File of Serenity, a Dark Iron Dwarf Racial or something, if you have nothing in higher keys, get ready to kite. But not that bad. Here we go. It's kind of a lot of little smaller pulls until we get here. So we have the Praetor, which the Praetor really does like to he does this Darkseeker where he just, not Darkseeker, but he does that thing right there, where he just zooms off into oblivion. Luckily, as a Death Knight, I just grip him back in and he stays put. But he'll do that cast every 10 seconds, 12 seconds or something of the sort. There is a Stealth Claw in this pack here, so you do want to watch out for that. But it usually lines up with grip if you're a DK for that Praetor, so you can always, keep them in place. The next pack is also very dangerous. You have 2 Goliaths. Now, you can choose to go left and not get a Goliath, but you're going to get one of the Forsworn Leaders, which we will cover that a little bit later. So the most common route that you will find in any pug group is to always go right. They'll pretty much always just inherently go that way. This is one you need to assign kicks to. These Goliaths cannot get a Rebellious Fist off. Your healer will just cry. But aside from that, it is a fairly simple pack. This is one to blow cooldowns on. It's because they'll come up for most of your 2 minutes will pretty much all be back up by the time you need them for the next big pull. And here we actually did let a Rebellious Fist cast go off, and you see everybody got chunked. Is what it is. We lived. Healer got us right back up. If you another common strategy here is to actually choose one of the Goliaths and just burst burst them down, so then that way you don't have to deal with as much. Aside from that, pretty simple pull as long as you keep up with the mechanics. I was about to say I popped Guardians here, but I'm on my DK, so that doesn't work. No, I have been given wings. I'm pretty sure this healer was like losing his mind. I don't think he had healed many BDKs before. This pack can be fairly dangerous if you don't watch out what you're doing. These Ether Diver casts, you really, really do want them to get kicked. The Druid dropped trees for me as quickly as possible because all the initial kicks were put on the trees. Just keep them together, try and kite them around the Praetor, and go from there. If you're Kyrian, there is a spear right here that you absolutely want to grab, but we didn't have any Kyrians at all in this group, actually, is what it is. So we're going to be doing all of this spearless, which is going to still be a lot of fun, and we got a good group that got everything done correctly. Then we take an angel cab and go on. And here I asked if we had a Kyrian. I thought I thought that the priest would have been Kyrian, but nope. I mean, yeah, so we had a hunter or a priest that could have both been Kyrian. But it is what it is. For this pack here, so here you have the skirmisher again, that hurl cast. Not a lot of fun. So here I try and keep it so the skirmisher will try and go here. I was just a little off my base. So you kind of want to kite them sideways, so if he goes, he kind of hits a pillar and things like that. But luckily I'm a DK in this one, so I just death grip him back, and I just don't have to worry about positioning as much on this one. Spitefuls are always fun to deal with. And then up next, we still double pull without the spear. I had previously noticed the Boomkin's damage throughout the run. So if he told me to pull big, I really wasn't worried about it. I knew he'd just blow it up. Here, I'm just kind of building stacks. I had noticed that the birds weren't quite nearby yet, so we had some time. And then here I'm going to go pull them on. I'll use Death and Decay to slow them and just pull everything in place. And use the Gorfine's Grasp. We did not lust, but we had a good time. Things went well. The Praetor ended up getting away from me for a little bit, but I brought him back in. This is a good one here to use defensives after your spear runs out. So Rebellious Fist did get off here, but our healer was pretty good at getting people up. But luckily, he had no problem. The healer doesn't have to worry about the Death Knight as much because I can just heal myself back up. Life is fine that way. And those Inquisitors. So this is the first time that we really start dealing with Inquisitors. Inquisitors have an Infernal Strife cast that is kickable and should absolutely be kicked at all times. Here you have a Forsworn squad leader. Now this is the squad leader I was talking about previously. They actually do an AoE debuff, so it's a dampening effect. So Cleave still works fine, but any AoE abilities like Starfall, Blizzard, Frozen Orb, anything like that is going to be dampened quite significantly. So when you are facing one of these squad leaders, you absolutely want to try and hard focus that one down. They do a mini little tank buster called Crashing Strike. It is easily sidesteppable, so if you're wondering what's chonking you on those squad leaders, that is it, and you want to try and aim that away from your party as much as possible. And then you go forward from there. It's not bad at all. But this next pull can get pretty bad. I've seen quite a few pulls happen on, quite a few wipes happen on the next pull. Some people will save the Kyrian Spear for this pull, actually. So keep in mind, talk it out with your group. Where do you feel safer? Because some people will pull the birds, not double pull like we did, and do them separately and spear this one. Because this one here has all of the nasties, all in one fun little package. The squad leader puts the AoE dampener down, just has an aura, sorry. The Inquisitor has that Infernal Strife cast, which really hurt. The Praetor likes to run away. And then there's the the champion, which they hurt as well. Now, in higher keys, one of the things that you're going to notice is that Praetor right here. Let's talk about that one right here. They truck. They do a lot of damage throughout the course of an instance, or the small little instance that does happen. So try and keep them CC'd if they do their little runaway and like you're not a DK and you don't have grips and things like that. If you have any sort of like stun, rotation, fear, try to keep them hard CC'd if you can. Aside from that, you do want the Forsworn Doctrines to be kicked, the Infernal Strikes to be kicked, and just generally, move forward like that. Now, we had a pretty good time. I used a Death Grip to kick, but it came right back up, but we killed it. And here we're going to reset the boss because we had decided not to skip any lieutenants. Beforehand, they assured me that everything that would go fine throughout the entire run, and it did. Everything went fine. So what we did here is we just tagged the boss, ran it out of the room, reset it, and then we went and did Oros, but we'll skip to the boss and the boss mechanics itself. So then Ventinax. This one here is one that if you have Lust is really, really nice, but tank positioning is very, very important here. Pick two sides of the room and stick to them and bounce back. The boss will do that Dark Stride ability. It will pick a ranged member of your party, if there are any range, and put a hefty bleed on them, and then it'll come back and it'll do that frontal. All it does is blind disorient you. You just don't want to be in it. Sidestep it, that's fine. On the second Dark Stride cast is when you want to use some sort of movement ability to get to the other side of the room, because when she does the Dark Stride cast, the bullets, what we call bullet hell, ended up getting hit by one there, ends up going out. Now, our Boomy destroyed this boss with a hefty 22k DPS, and the reason why you want to do it every two is she does a recharge, and when she does the recharge, the bullets actually come out in larger numbers and faster numbers, so it's just easier to avoid them if you're on the other side of the room. So that is the tank positioning for that one, fairly important. And just something to watch out for. And then here we have the Forever Cab going forward. The next pack is the Hellion. Now, this is one where if your group has a creative skip for it, as in you found percentage elsewhere, you can easily just walk past it. You do not need to Shroud or anything like that, or Invispot. Just, it doesn't offer a lot of percent, and it can be nasty on fortified weeks to deal with solo, because the Forsworn Hellion pulsates AoE damage, can be very, very troublesome to deal with, and it just doesn't offer a lot of percent. So you might see some, if you can come up with a creative route. Now this one here, I have a difference in my routing between pug friendly and groups that I'm running with. So if you see my DOS route, for example, for how we run DOS with my push group versus how I run DOS with with a pug group, they are wildly different, and there's very, very good reason for that. So here I pulled Veruth afterwards. Aside from that, the Hellion just does a little charge AoE thing and hit the ground, don't be in it. Leaves a puddle, again, don't be in it. Up next is the weird little skip, because we're going to skip this next pack. Everybody does, because they just get nastier and nastier as it goes on. Now, you sidestep by going, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to backtrack this just a little bit. So you go to the right, you jump on the balcony, you go around the pillars, and you jump off. Now, you have a lot of different things that you can do. I hit Door of Shadows to get up on the thing. I had a little trouble finding the spot. You can Invisit. The priest, I tried to tell him he could soothe, but there was a communication issue between me and him. This was an Azralon group, so a lot of them don't speak the same language. I had told him that he can soothe that Forsworn Warden, so you can actually just walk past it, but they didn't. Now, what they opted to here, which I'm kind of glad that this happened, was if you have one of the Yaks or the Mammoth mounts, you can boot off the vendors, and the people can actually your players can jump on, and you just jump on, you move forward a little bit, and they end up on top of the balcony. Here I grabbed a decent little shot of it. So you can see that. So if you have no skips or anything like that, and that's how you want to get past it, that's how you do it right here. They jump off. Now, again, we did have the soothe from the priest, but he did not. And I hate Sagadon here. This is the worst pull because it'll pull you in, and I hate getting aggro on the wardens and stuff. I did ask for the soothe, did not get it. Again, there's just a language barrier there, but language barriers does not stop keys from being fun. We still did it. I still did it. It was a good time. Sagadon dropped, and then we're going to go on over to the next little polls. So Sagadon goes down, and there are two ways to kind of do this next little pull, because we're not going to do the next Warden and stuff cast. If you go right down the middle and go by the pillar, don't hug it, you can actually get through without pulling any of the packs on the left and the right. But you can also go around on the far side. If you've run Spires, you've probably seen that skip before. But we did have somebody pull, and this happens very, very frequently with pugs, and I need to remind myself it's just probably safer for me to go around the far way. I think we had some deaths and stuff like that, but I mean, with 14 minutes left on the timer and a 15 non-tyrannical, it went fairly well. We lost. And that's what can happen if you do the pull the way that I did it there. Oh yeah, and our druid actually DC'd as well when we wiped here, but he said not to release. They'll come back, and we'll just go ahead there. Wipes do happen all the time. Someone pulled, and that's why you don't want to pull that middle pack. It hurts. They hurt. It sucks. It's not fun. But if you can avoid it in a pug group, don't do it. So here we get came back. I'm going to pull the group of usurpers here. Hide behind the pillar because, again, they like to do that hurl cast at your DPS or ranged. Here the priest is finding that out the hard way as he's about to get hit. Just try and keep aggro on them as best as you can, and go from there. Now, we did, I have to admit, our Ephraim, I can never remember how to pronounce this boss's name, was a little bit dirty. So this will be a good example of what not to do and why it's important to stack. So here I just wait for them to kill down the Spitefuls because I want them focused on the boss mechanics and not being worried about Spitefuls. So here what you want is you want everyone to go down a straight line. That's the entire goal. And you want your DPS to actually hold all of their offensive cooldowns until the recharge phase. He does a Purifying Blast class that does not have to worry about the tank. You don't worry about the tank, it'll hit a DPS. But this is where the Imperial Ordnance, you want everyone stacked for that. Now, luckily, I noticed they did not. So I started moving the boss in a manner in which I could try to get them all in one straight line. But as you see here, they just decided not to. Is what it is. There's nothing more you could do about it. You just have to deal with it. But if you're in a coordinated group, get them to stack for this Imperial Ordnance. They had an idea to, but they just, they kind of made every single one in their own straight line. So if you see here, nice straight line, nice straight line. But what you want is them to be all one full line. But whatever. He does do a charge stomp if you get too close within his melee range. So that's the tank positioning that you want to worry about there. That charge stomp will actually use up some of his anima, so he'll get to the recharge phase faster, where he takes 100% increased damage, which is why you want your DPS actually holding down. Now, if you're a paladin or a DK, you can actually force the charge stomp and not take damage by using freedom or disadvance, any sort of anti-movement freedom thing. Here, this one started getting away from me, but I think I got it. Yeah, I did get it. But I had to pop AMZ and kind of start getting some death strikes in on myself. But here I was like hovering on the edge of death while I was dealing with these last 8 stacks. This is where you want to save any sort of immunities you have. Big CDs is when you have to eat all of those magic circles, the magic balls, and then we take the last taxi cab right up. Coming up here, you want 88%. 88%. Each of the angels up top are going to be worth 4% apiece. So you can finish it that way. Really not that big of a deal. And then you go 4 from there. So let's just skip ahead a little bit. Well, okay, no, cool. We're finally at the top. Unfortunately, with this... the taxi cab should be a lot more instant, but whatever. So here I like pulling middle, left, right. If we're going by the way I'm facing right now, it's middle, right, left. This diminuendo, holy jeez, I'm having a hard time pronouncing that today, is sidesteppable. I had actually ended up, my wife ended up coming home when I was running this, and we were talking through it, so I wasn't exactly paying attention to the mechanics. And then again, I mistimed the cast and I ran right back into that one. Just sidestep it on higher keys. It could just chonk you, and it's just needless damage that you don't need to take. So just sidestep it. Here you're going to see me do it on the next one. Because I was like, oh geez. That's 2 that I've eaten. Like, these angels can get really, really bad at times, so you want to watch out for that. The last angel, Klotos, is the real big nightmare there. If you decide to pull them multiple at a time, they have to die within a couple seconds of each other, or they will fully heal back to 100%. Now, this one here, Astronos, does a charged spear. This is her main mechanic. Her or his main mechanic, don't matter. Their main mechanic, there we go, where they will throw a charged spear, and every once in a while, it's actually going to pulsate that black damage that's going to spew out in 4 corners. So you want to position yourself, especially yourself for the melee. Now here we were all ranged, so I didn't have to worry about it. I just had to worry about myself, and they could worry about themselves. Where you don't get hit by those, because those in higher keys really, really start to hurt. So practice good mechanics now, and don't take needless damage. This is pretty much the whole thing of Spires of Ascension, is there's a lot of damage that can incur that you just don't need to take if you kick, CC, or position yourself properly, and then go from there. So here I found myself a nice little corner. There's a bunch of the charged spears out, and I am perfectly fine where I am. They're all going off, and I don't have to worry about it. Aside from that, the last boss will do all of the, will do the charged spears still. The last boss, the last angel. Sometimes it is the last boss. Some people do opt to actually lust this last angel on fortified keys instead of the last boss itself. Now, as you see here, I use the Corgi goggles to keep my camera nice and clear from all of the angel wings. And then we go from there. We still had 6 minutes left. I mean, it wasn't the cleanest run in the world, but we had a good time. It was a 15. It was timed at the end, and that's all that matters. She does this this charge stomp where you really, really do not want to be in that. It hurts. Usually when you're using the Kyrian Spear here, what you want to do is actually wait for the charge stomp to occur, pull her out, or pull him out, pull them out, and hit them with the spear for that nice big stun, so you don't have to worry about it there. But we had that Boomy again, knew all the right places to blow up on, and things were not a problem. So last boss here being Devos. This is a multi-phase fight with not as much going on as you may think. Now here, the positioning, I like to try and tank her along this like ribbon right here, with my back to the wall, because what you try to optimally do is that run through, which you need to sidestep, is you want her to not go as far for your melee DPS, and she just hits the wall. So you try and bait it towards the wall. There's this Lost Confidence cast right here, which she'll hit two targets with it. It is dispellable, and when it's dispelled, it leaves a black pool on the ground. Aside from that, she does the Abyssal Detonation cast, which you want to be in this blue circle. So you, as a tank, it is your job to know. So she'll do a run through, and then a circle will appear. So after that run through, you want to locate that circle and tank her in it, because wherever you tank her, your DPS are going to sit. Your DPS are going to sit, and then it was your fault if they miss. So then after a certain phase, it's either time gated or 70%, depending on which one happens first. She'll leave, and then you have to collect all 5 of the magical animal balls, bring them back to the spear, and then throw the spear at her. This is typically the tank job, but if you are not comfortable with it, ask a DPS to take it over. But if you do not ask, they will absolutely assume that you are doing it. Phase 2 is the most common point to lust, because the next time she phases is actually at 30%. So you have 40% of lust in which you can work with, and on tyrannical keys, that's more than enough. But here we just kind of blow her down, and just, you know, same thing, rinse and repeat, run through, blue circle, abyssal detonation. This is the perfect bait. She hit me, and she barely moved, and everyone didn't have to worry about positioning or things like that, and it's easily sidesteppable. So then we're going to get her down to 30%, and it's going to be a rinse and repeat. Anything you can do to help your healers while she's phased during the spear phase, do so. If you're a paladin and you can help off heal, or, you know, do anything of the sort, do it, because your healers, there's a lot of incoming damage. There's a lot of there's a stackable debuff that just keeps on occurring. It's this one right here, and it just this one. It's this one right here. Sorry, it's this. It looks like the Seed of Corruption from the Warlock ability. So here, now when I spear, unless I've just seen her finish moving, I will usually wait until she moves, because she has this nice little habit of sidestepping your spear if you don't time it right. But here we still had 2 minutes left in the timer, plenty of time for a pug group and a wipe. We had 8 deaths, but that's not too bad. And this is a good example of a good bait where your melee DPS really don't even have to chase after or anything to keep up the damage, because the timer can be tight on Spires if you mess up, don't have enough DPS or things like that. But things went really, really well, and that is how you tank Spires of Ascension. If you're into if you like watching people on Twitch, come on by, check me out on Twitch, link down below. As well, if you're looking for a positive community of tanks and just generally other players as well, not just tanks, Alliance, Horde, does not matter. Come on by, check out the Mazarok community Discord down below, ask questions. There's lots of good people in the Discord that are very, very fun and full of good advice of all IOs. So if you're anywhere from a beginner or you're looking to tank 20s and higher, there is someone there to help you out. There are a lot of really, really good people in there. Aside from that, 9.2 has been announced. It is on February 22nd. I am so excited for it. Cannot wait. So we'll be having the new affix soon enough and everything like that. But this is the general guide on how to tank Spires of Ascension. Thank you very much for listening this far. Have yourselves a good day.